morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Wednesday, October 29th, 2025. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Hump Day, everyone. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame using TradingView this morning. If you like TradingView here, give me a big thumbs up in the YouTube video right now. Let me know you want to see more TradingView videos up ahead. We've built some tremendous tools for TradingView here lately. Want to show them off a little bit here in the pre-market videos, but right now here's your impulse move from that Friday range. We got the upside break through the top of that key range. We have now gone 50% beyond the Friday key range high, and we're still working toward the upside target. I mentioned before the upside target here, 70.72. That's the upside target. You have the major 7,000 market structure level coming into play. We've seen tremendous strength here, but today, heading into the RTH Open, just 30% of average range right now as the market awaits the Fed later on this afternoon. FOMC statement, rate decision, and the press conference all this afternoon. And after the closing bell here, we have earnings from Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet. So a big time afternoon here. How we play throughout the day may be completely different than how it behaves here in the 1 and 2 o'clock hours, and then again in the 3 o'clock hour, because the Fed could drive it down a bit, earnings could drive it back up. We could have a dramatically different looking daily bar here, but the thought is we've been trending up in a tremendous way. Even if we pull back, it's an opportunity for bulls to defend and bring this thing back up yet again as we continue to work higher toward these upper targets. Likely to have a high range day by the end of the session. That means we could be looking at somewhere between 100 and 125 points of range fairly easily. Do we get a massive push beyond that? It would take somewhere in the 145, 150 point range here to get a 200+% of ADR day and an ADR spike. We'll see if something like that happens. If it were to happen, it'd probably be down with a push back up. But overall, this market continuing the trend up until proven otherwise. Looking at the NQ, similar price action here out of the NQ. I don't have that key range value up here, but basically the upside target takes us a bit higher into about 26.6, I believe. I have it here, 26.617. So we still have into about right here where we could be looking at that key range target from the Friday key range. We still have more upside here on any pullback that could be in play here until we see a major day one reaction or rejection that leads to otherwise. So this has been a tremendous run from those April lows. A big time push now outside the third standard deviation and now the fourth standard deviation of the yearly VWAP. So this is a highly bullish market right now in tech. But when you get way up here, you do tend to pull back or fade back into the range a little bit. And even if you do, it's still continuing higher. So if we do see a little bit of weakness here, still a buying opportunity until proven otherwise. Looking at crude oil. Crude right here, let's look at crude bouncing off of 60, or at least holding the 60 zone yesterday on retests. Today holding the previous session's low, an initial thrust reversal developing here. This is an initial thrust reversal. Again, it's hard to be too bullish right now when we're in such a bearish seasonal cycle. Bearish seasonal cycle, which means basically from about that time right there, October 6th, 7th, we tend to be down into about the beginning, middle of December. And that's just seasonally speaking. Over the last 5, 10, 20-year splits, you're going to see that bearish seasonal cycle. That doesn't mean we can't rally during that cycle. That doesn't mean headline risk can't take us higher. But after big pushes, it's going to be met with some seasonal pressures here. Is that what's happening now? I mentioned before 60 was going to be the big level here, that on a pullback, bulls need to keep 60 bid in order to try and go get the 66s here. And year-to-date VWAP, which would likely turn it back down at that point. But if you can't hold 60 here, then 54, or at least a retest of these 56s, might be ahead. So 60 continues to be the key level to watch here. Continue to watch the previous session's low there. Looking at gold here, gold has been a tremendous mover here lately, tremendous volatility as well. The previous session here finally found a low in gold and was able to kind of bounce it back up. Now, again, this market here seeing tremendous movement back and forth. Big time range from the 4,400 level to 39. That is a 500 point range again, which is very similar to the 500 point range we had from 3,500 to 3,000. And then when we broke through 3,500, we've rallied now to 4,400. So very much in line with what we've seen before. And that could easily lead to a similar reaction up ahead, which is right here. This is your 500 point range. That's your 500 point range, and we saw build up in here before we saw the next expansion. Do we see build up in here now to the right before we see the next move either up or down? But this is enough range right now, 500 points, to keep things in check between 3,900 and 4,400 for a little while. What I'd like to see is a strong low that can help us get to the midpoint of the recent sell-off. Initially we thought this could be it, but it did not turn out. So if this can be the low, perhaps we get back to the midpoint of that range, and now we have that massive key range just like we did before, and we could have movement anywhere in that key range over the next several months, which is a massive key range to really get some swings from. So watching to see how this develops here in gold, but clearly showing some strength here today, especially upon reaching the previous session's high. Can it hold these levels? Any pullback to 4,000 could be an opportunity for bulls to defend intraday. All right, looking at the YM. YM remains bullish here, big time push to the upside. One thing about this one here is we've seen tremendous continuation to the upside day over day through that Friday key range high, now through the 50% level, and the 100% level is just above here. 48,379. That's the last level. That's from the Friday key range when we had that intense sell-off on a Friday. By Sunday evening, we had reached the midpoint of that day, and that's the pre-market video when I mentioned we likely have ourselves a new key range that keeps prices in check a little bit, and then we get the next big move one way or another to the extreme, and this thing went straight to the upside here so far with a little bit more to go. The rising 8 period remains a level to watch here in this up move. After the break and retest here, any drop into that level could continue to extend the price action to the upside until proven otherwise, as this market remains highly bullish and above the current yearly R3 calculation here, which is the third standard deviation above VWAP here. So very, very bullish here. The expectation again, range bound sideways with an upward bias, and then this afternoon we could see some tremendous swings with a range on the day that could easily take us north of 600, maybe 700 points of range. All right, looking at Bitcoin. Bitcoin reached that key range midpoint, big time key range midpoint. I mentioned before that that key range takes us as high as 150 and as low as 80. The best entry would be a flawless entry here off the 25% extension, 97,870 to 157.35. That would be a 55% gain basically right there off that move if we can get something like that. This thing could build out a little bit, drop, and then rally into that zone in Q4 or into Q1 of next year. If we happen to see a harsher downside move, then maybe 80 might be in play, and from 80 to 150 could be the move longer term. So we'll see how this develops, but that's the key range to watch for the next major move ahead. ETH has a similar key range here, reached that midpoint earlier this week, and again from the best entry point, which is the 25% extension from the edge, 3,400 to 5,900 would be about a 75% gain in that case if it played out. Failure to hold 3,400 may open up a move into the 2570 zone. That is the 100% extension. 2570 now to 5,900 might actually be the next move in that case. So again, watching to see how this builds out. Once you have a wide key range that is in play now, you could see some build out for a bit, and then we see the move materialize. So big time key ranges in both Bitcoin, ETH, and XRP that could lead to some significant longer term gains in Q4 and Q1 of next year. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out here heading into the rest of the session. Good luck, trade well, and I'll see you in the trading room. Take care.